I used to ask people, what do you think is more important, knowing who's on the bus or knowing where you're going? And a lot of people think it's important to know where you're going. And I always thought it was better to know who you got on the bus. And like I would tell people, it's like, man, you can be on the bus headed to heaven. And if you on the bus with a whole bunch of people you don't like, it's gonna be miserable. You can be on the bus with your best friends and y'all sitting in the parking lot and you're gonna have the best time on earth. So like for me, I always try to make sure that I bring in the right people to come work with us and work for us. And then I just say, if we get the right people with the right attitude and the right demeanors, we can figure it out. Maybe about junior high and high school, I never really honed in on what exactly I wanted to do, but my goal was never to move back home with my parents. Not like they bad or nothing, they've been married for like 47 years, but it was more like a concept. And I felt like it didn't even matter what I was doing, but I would have to have some level of success if I never moved back home when I left when I was 18. So really through college, my ideal was, to do what I had to do. I felt like I made a lot of sacrifices and did what I had to do to get a scholarship to a Big Ten school. And then once I graduated, my idea was to chase my dream and do what I wanted to do for like 2 years at the most. Then if it didn't work, I would try to go back to grad school and get my degree in industrial organizational psychology. I was good enough to play sports. I just kind of took it step by step, and then I had a love for music, and I thought it would be cool that if you can do something that you would do for free and make a living at it, and so I just gave it a shot. Curtis Daniel III, owner of Patchwerk Recording Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. This is my journey. Can I help you? Can I help you? Come on in. I'm originally from Carson, California. I grew up, played football there at Manning High School, ended up getting a football scholarship to Michigan State, graduated there in '95, and I've been in Atlanta since then. Just grew up, man, I always joke with people and tell them, I went to school, got a degree in psychology, but I got in the music world because I just love music. And I always tell people you can kind of get a hint or inclination of how much I was wrapped into it because my mom's name is Mahalia. So we just grew up with music, pretty much all around the house. I never had a talent of doing any music. I wasn't good enough to be the DJ or the rapper or the greatest breakdancer, but I was always around it. And even to this day, I don't do any music, but I'm around it, running and operating the studio. That's kind of how, I fell into the music thing.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling Patchwerk. Can I help you?
Yeah, is Curtis here?
Yeah, this is him.
Hey Curtis, Todd Christensen.
Todd, what's going on, man?
I'm about to, I was going to send you a contract with some numbers, and it's got all the language in it.
I got into the music industry really because, again, when I was coming home for spring and summer break, we used to just be playing dominoes at my house or Ras's house or Bob's house, who used to own the studio, Ras being Ras Kass. And one time we loved music, and we were just sitting there playing dominoes. I remember he put this cassette in, and our description of a dope rapper at the time, we would be like, man, he's so dope. When he rap, he make my eyes water, right? And that's how we would be like, man, he just that dope. And remember, he just put a cassette in and he started playing it, and we was like, I was like, man, Jesus Christ, who is this? And then he didn't say nothing. It's like some new rapper, and he's like, he dope though, huh? I'm like, man, this dude is dope. If he had the name of Method Man, he would be a Red Man. He'd be blown up just by their name, because he played 2 more songs, and then he proceeded to tell me that it was him. I was like, that ain't you, man. He's like, it's me. I've been writing. Da, da, da. So, long story short, I thought he was the best rapper ever, and I still do. Lyrically, I don't think anybody can touch Ras. And so, Bob, at that point, he had got drafted by the Atlanta Falcons, first round, 8th player overall. And I knew he had bought some music equipment and he wasn't doing anything with it. So I told him that one of the homies from the neighborhood was the best rapper on earth. And I convinced him to send Ras his equipment, and Ras cut a demo, and we just thought we would get a deal. All that didn't happen, and really that's kind of how I kind of got into it. And then just to backtrack, like in junior high, like I said, I wasn't good enough to DJ. I used to DJ, and my friend had all the equipment. So whenever he wanted to slow dance, what we used to do back then, he would let me DJ, and I would get to play songs. So I was always cool about picking the cool records, but I never knew how to mix and blend. And then even in college, I worked with another friend where we had a radio show on Michigan State's radio station. So I just always been around music and just loved it. You know what I mean? The biggest thing to me, like now, it's like, man, you're spending more time educating people who don't really know what they're doing. Like, I mean, they want to do a record and they don't even know the right terms, and it's just like before you just was booking studio time. You take a call, you book it, you keep moving, you booked up. Now it's like you're spending more time per customer. Before you can even have a conversation at this level, you got to spend an hour trying to bring the people up to the right level so they can kind of understand what your value is. That's the biggest thing, man. It just takes longer, and you're working harder for less money, it seems like. You know what I mean? The prices have come down a little bit. Before, man, when nobody tripping, $235 an hour, they booked that for a week. Now, when you get superstars that's asking about the price of the studio, it's just a different world, but everybody's getting squeezed. So our studio has never, if you kind of look around, a lot of studios I always say that they're financed or backed, or label will have his hand on it at some point. Either there's a studio, there's a producer that owns it, there's an artist that owns it, and so they basically get money from labels that are being supported. From day one, we were 100% commercial facility. We didn't have our own artists to book studio time. We didn't have our own producers to bring clients there. So it was a grind for us financially. Bob pretty much financed everything, and he probably tried to shut the studio down no less than 30 times within the first 3 years. And every time he wanted to shut it down, I would be like, well, what would I have to do to make you keep it open a little bit longer? And then he would give me, well, if you can get this many bookings and get this money in and do this, then I'll keep it going. And it was like a cool lesson, because a lot of times when people get like a deadline or an ultimatum, they start packing up and getting ready to go. And my approach was, well, he about to shut it down, but if I do this, then we're gonna stay open. And so I would spend my energy just knowing that I was gonna hit that goal and kind of buy us more and more time. So the obstacles were financial. They never were getting people to work in the studio, because you can always get people to work, but getting people to pay you is another issue. Having clients pay you on time so that you can run your business. Other than that, it's been pretty cool. I think we've always set up our company where, anybody that's working there has been taught that we don't sell studio time, we sell customer service. So it's kind of like, it's been cool because I've been running the studio the whole time. So the culture of the studio has never ever changed over 20 years. So it's kind of like, it kind of is what it is. But the obstacles was just financial, and then when the industry kind of got hit up, we had to kind of diversify and figure out some other revenue generating things. But other than that, it's been pretty cool. And it was cool working, with Bob, because it would be funny whenever we would have an issue, like if I'm dealing with a label or something, they would be like, if I would say something they didn't like, they'd be like, I'm gonna tell your boss. And I'd be like, so what? He right here, he gonna tell you whatever I tell. So I can't really complain about, anything. Hardest part is just people, like if, I got a 1-year-old daughter and I'd just be sitting in the room and I'd be like, products, not service, products, not service. When you do service, there's a limit to what you can do. There's only so many hours in a day. We can only book so many hours and do so many sessions, as opposed to having a product. It can just be done infinitely. So the other challenge is just employees, and we're in a creative world. And so we got, 16 employees, about 8 interns, and they're all creative, and trying to get everybody on the same page. That's probably about the biggest challenge in running a studio that size. Yeah. A couple of things I'm proud of is really just, I always say, like the graduation of our people, and being able to bring really young black people into a workspace, and I always tell them, like, when we start them off, I mean, we ain't gonna be able to pay you $1 million, but I'm gonna teach you how to be able to run your own company, or, you know, or run somebody else's company. So it's just been interesting, you know, after all these years, just to see people. I think I've been labeled as a good evaluator of talent and being able to bring people in. I always hire people that never worked in the music industry because I like them just blank, so we can teach them and mold them and, you know, teach them how to run people's businesses. So just one of the coolest things is just to sit back and look at all of our engineers that have gone on to been personal engineers for whether it's Usher or Polo or whoever, Beyonce, whoever you can think of, Mike Will. You know, they like our engineers because they've been trained properly. Then the people that have worked at the front desk, you know, like the Jason Jeters, the Clay Evans, the Laura Giles, just people that have graduated, even Curvins, you know, they always say graduated from Patchwerk. That's one of the you know, the proudest things. And then just being able to always, you know, be myself, and just be consistent. That over the years, people kind of know what it is with me, and I haven't really changed. So, like I said, the culture of the studio hadn't really changed. We hadn't gone through multiple management, ownership, and all this stuff. So for us to be there 20 years, I mean, it's just amazing when I look back and be like, Bell South is gone, Motorola is gone, you know, Sprint disappeared, pagers went away, payphones, and we still here after 20 years of never closing the door, never having a light cut off, never having the power disconnected, never not answering the phone, never not having a human there, and just still just delivering a quality product has been, you know, probably like the most thing I'm proud of. So really just staying consistent and being thorough, and actually just having a standard in the music industry that doesn't have standards has been awesome for us.